you can't do something unless you love it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean that because you love something, it's not going to be tedious, it's not going to become a headache at some point? Of course not. But the love of the thing that you're doing is what drives.
Hello and welcome to an all-new Deep Cuts Live. I'm your host, Antoine Reed, and today we have a great episode for you. So if you live in North Carolina, you may have heard of Charlotte Cigar Week. Today we're going to speak to the man behind that week. It's Damon Robinson. So we're going to talk about what is Charlotte Cigar Week, why did he create it, and what can you expect when you go to this year's event. So let's get to today's interview. Damon, welcome to Deep Cuts Live.
Thank you for having me, good brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we've been talking about doing this, I think, for like a year now. So we missed
last year.
I think so. I think it was like last year at some point when I was saying like, oh, we should do it. And then I didn't follow up. Things obviously went off the rails. And then here we are. So we're making up for it this year. So welcome to Deep Cuts.
Look, I know you're a busy man, so you know it's fine that I got pushed down to the bottom of the totem pole. It's fine.
Well, like I said, I am excited to have you on here because what I've been trying to do this year, I feel like every year is like something a little bit different. So this year we're really kind of getting into a whole different side of the industry that people are used to kind of hearing and seeing in the cigar industry, that is. So tell people a little bit about you and what you do within the cigar industry.
Well, I don't do anything in the cigar industry. I am, people use people in the cigar community, I think, use the term cigar industry a little bit too loosely. They think because if you're an influencer, which I'm not, but if you do anything cigar related, they say, "Oh, you're in the cigar industry." I'm like, no. I only classify people in the cigar industry as if you are a tobacconist, you're a rep, you're a manufacturer, something that has to actually do with the selling of cigars or the manufacturing of cigars or even the legislation of cigars to a degree. I am just an avid cigar lover who supports the cigar industry and tries to push the cigar culture forward by using my platform of Charlotte Cigar Week.
Yeah, but on that same note, I think because obviously now I have that discussion a lot with people with like what makes up the cigar industry. And what we've always kind of discovered is that, like you said, all those different parts or people in the production side of the industry and the advocacy side of the industry are super important. But if you don't have the customers, the consumers who also support the industry, then you don't have an industry. It's almost like the foundation. Like everything kind of starts from you all and from me, from you. And so it's like, we may not be sitting there rolling cigars because I've had the experience of trying to roll a cigar and it's not my thing. But it's like we're promoting the industry from a different angle. And without us, like I said, it's hard to have that retail, level. It's hard to have the manufacturing level. Then without those two levels, there's no need for the advocacy level because nobody, it's like who's there to protect. So,
no, you're absolutely right, and I see where you're going. So, allow me the latitude to say this, right? Because just like you, like I've had many conversations with people, and this is my own personal take on it, right? You have the cigar culture, right? Mm-hmm. This big umbrella of the cigar culture. The two things that make up the cigar culture are the cigar industry and the cigar community. The people who manufacture cigars, sell cigars, and legislate cigars, and then the people who buy the cigars and support it. And those two things together make up the cigar culture. Mm-hmm. So I put myself in the cigar community within the cigar culture. Okay. I support the cigar industry.
You do. And that's why you're here today, because you are the organizer behind Charlotte Cigar Week.
Yes, sir.
So tell us a little bit about Charlotte Cigar Week. When did it get its start? How did this concept come about? And I guess how is it different from any other cigar event, let's just say?
Well, So when I moved to, I most recently came from Nashville, Tennessee. So I was born in Georgia. I was raised in Alabama. I always say I grew up in Tennessee because I grew to be the man that I am. Basically, 20 some years living in Tennessee. Went to school in Tennessee State University, and then became a Nashvilleian. In 2016, I moved to Charlotte. There's this event that happens every year. It still goes on right now. I think it's called the Beer, Bourbon, and Barbecue event. I don't know if it goes all across the country, but I know it goes up and down the Eastern Seaboard in different places. And I went to it. It was like $55, $65. You get this little whiskey tasting glass, and you get to go all the different whiskey vendors and get free samples. You can buy barbecue or whatever. As I was going down, and it was out like in South Park Mall area, in the little grass area. So I was walking down, checking out all the vendors. There was this one guy who was selling cigars. It wasn't anybody particular brand. It's like some unbanded cigars that he had infused with whatever. And I thought to myself at that moment, I said, this would be really cool if this whole event was cigar related, like it was like a little cigar festival, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I put that on the back burner of my mind. I always knew that I wanted to do something in cigars. But see, here's the thing, right? When you come into a new area, you can't just say, hey, you know what, I'm gonna do this, the cigar event or whatever. You have to make inroads with people, So I'm at Burners right now, Burners Cigar Company, doing an interview. Burners actually gave me my start in the cigar industry. I used to be a tobacconist. I worked here. I've been smoking cigars as of this year for 16 consecutive years, but I probably learned a whole lot, just from Josh, the owner, and then a lot of the reps who would come in and talking to them, learn about a lot about the cigar industry. And then when about a year after I left Burners, after spending a year at Burners, I left Burners, and I became a boutique cigar rep. I was representing Carolina Blue Cigars, LRTista cigars, and from that, I moved into being a tobacconist consultant, where people would kind of hire me to come in, and they already had a lounge. They wanted to come in and maybe revamp some things, improve their sales and profit, train their employees, or they were starting out cold. They would hire me to come in and do some things, right? So I've learned a lot of different things. And in doing that, I've made those inroads with a lot of people in the local cigar industry, and with some people, outside of the local area, the cigar industry at large, right? So then I decided, I want to do a cigar. I want to do a cigar fest. Now I started one originally in 2021, and that didn't work out. So I started over with Charlotte Cigar Week in 2022. It gave me the opportunity to do a cigar week the way I felt a cigar week should be. That's not to say that all the different cigar weeks, they're not doing something right. They're doing great. I'm just saying I have my own idea about how I wanted to do a cigar week, right? And it gave me the opportunity to go ahead and do that. This is our second year doing Charlotte Cigar Week. This year is going to be bigger than last year, bigger and better. And not necessarily with just a number of people bigger. I mean, bigger as in more of a production, right? There's a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different sponsors, lots of different vendors, partners, and things of that nature. So, Charlotte Cigar Week is for anybody who's like on there. You could be on your first cigar, you could be on your 1,000th cigar, and everybody in between, right? It's a perfect opportunity to come in and learn about cigars, because I have this thing that I call Fabrica de Puro Charlotte, which is basically my educational series. And like this year, I'm working with Aganorsa and Placencia. So we're going to be doing cigar education like all day on Thursday. I have one with Placencia. They're doing their Seed to Smoke with Wayne Clark at the Vintage. And then Terrence Riley is coming in doing the Aganorsa experience at Gold Leaf. So this was going to give a lot of people the opportunity, if you've never participated in one of those, to participate it, but also at the same time to to leave Charlotte Cigar with some education that you probably didn't have before. So when you go back to your city or state, you can become like the local little subject matter expert in your group of cigar smokers.
Now, when you said the 2021 event didn't go as planned, I would just say, what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I didn't say it didn't go as planned. It didn't work out.
Well, that was me trying to put it in a nicer way. Like, okay, so
yeah.
So what did you learn from that experience?
I learned not to. I learned not to have partners. I learned that off top. Don't do partners at all. Just do it by yourself, and just hire people to do things that I need to do. That was the absolute biggest thing that I learned from that situation. And also, I kind of touched on it earlier about me doing the cigar week that I felt the way it should be done. It's like now I don't have anybody to sit here and debate with about the direction of it. However I want to do it, that's the way it's going to go. Mm-hmm. Now, I do have people that I use as sounding boards. I talk to some people, some of the lounge owners who I'm close with. I run an idea past them. I got my guy Chris with Carolina Blues, a close friend of mine. I bounce ideas off him. My guy Don with AJ Fernandez, I bounce ideas off him. And then my ambassadors, I bounce ideas off of them. So, but ultimately the decision falls upon me, and that's the way I like to have it.
I think that's interesting because you always hear in business that, you should not try to do everything yourself. But I think in your position as well, where you find that the more that you can handle on your own, like the better, at least the more likely you are to be happy with the outcome.
Well, see, the thing is, man, I agree when people say don't try to do everything yourself, because Charlotte Cigar Week is a massive undertaking of, it's like I basically have a second full-time job, right? It's a massive undertaking of time, resources, and energy, because I basically am working on Charlotte Cigar Week for 9 months, from I'll probably say from July until April. I'm working on Charlotte Cigar Week. Ideas, implementation, execution. I'm working on Charlotte Cigar Week. What I do believe in, and to your point about not trying to do everything yourself, is that one, again, I can hire someone to do something. Like next year, I'm probably going to hire a marketing company, because that's probably the biggest thing that I actually spend the most of my time on is marketing, creating marketing materials for my sponsors and all this different stuff. Like if I could just, offload that to some company, Instagram marketing company or whatever, then I'll do that so I can focus on all the other stuff. Because I already have someone who, like, I have one of my TSU alumni who lives in Atlanta. He helps me with my flyers. Like last year he did all of them. This year he did half of them. I have another TSU alum who helped me with my logo, who also lives in Atlanta. So, I incorporate people into Charlotte Cigar Week to help me out with different things, because I don't really want to do everything by myself. It's just that most of the stuff has to fall on my shoulders.
So how do you keep yourself from burning out? Because like you said, this is a long process.
These right here, cigars. Man, I'm telling you right now, it's like this is really my only vice. Like I drink, but I don't really drink a lot. Mm-hmm. As long as I have cigars, I'm good. And like it's crazy, like between 8 and 5 when I'm working my normal job, and because I work from home, I can sit at my desk and I was like, I could be unproductive as all get out. But I was like, you know what? Let me go sit in the garage, or let me go to Burners, or let me go somewhere else. Light up a cigar. Oh, I'm productive. I'm busy as I don't know what. You know what I'm saying? It's like I don't know what it is about cigars that makes me more productive, but it does. But it also, to your point, it helps me to decompress a bit. It helps me to relax.
Like this whole idea of an event. I remember. I keep trying to remember what year it was, but it was one year. Davidoff kind of announced at one of the trade shows that, they were kind of, I won't say happy with their portfolio, but they were kind of satisfied with where their portfolio was. Mm-hmm. And they said the next phase that they were going to move into was the experience. everything was going to be about the experience, building it around their different brands and how important that was. And they were kind of really ahead of the curve because that was before lots of the other companies kind of jumped on the bandwagon of, oh, we need to create an experience around the cigars. So it seems like, the importance of, like you said, you have all these different cigar brands, the different cigar stores now build an experience around those things for people to come in and help the community come together around this cigar culture.
Well, yeah, because here's the thing, Antoine. It's like I'm not new to doing events, right? When I was in college, because I'm in a fraternity, I was one of the people in my fraternity in my chapter who did events. After graduation, we got an alumni affinity chapter. I was heavy into that, doing events, doing multi-day events. So doing Charlotte Cigar Week is actually not hard for me from a planning perspective because I already have, because a lot of things that I learned doing that, I just incorporate all of that into Charlotte Cigar Week. I've said this before. It's like, so and people who are like maybe Greek or maybe even not Greek, but you're familiar with college Greeks. All the Greeks had Greek weeks. So I'm an Alpha. So we had Alpha Week. Charlotte Cigar Week to me is basically Alpha Week with cigars. That's basically kind of like what it is, right? It's for adults and cigars, and I'm adding in the educational piece and supporting a particular industry. So it's actually really not hard. It's tedious, but it's not hard.
So what would you say is the hardest part of this? Besides, I know you kind of touched on that a few minutes ago, saying that obviously there's some things you wish you could maybe, get like the marketing company to help with. So
yeah,
would you say marketing is the hardest part, or is it something else that's hard?
That is the most tedious part of Charlotte Cigar Week, because you figure that I've got about 12, let's just say 15 to 19 sponsors, right? Mm-hmm. One thing that I do for Charlotte Cigar Week is I create advertisements for each one of those sponsors. Typically what I do is I create a generic announcement saying, hey, this person is, or this company is a sponsor or a partner for Charlotte Cigar Week. After we figure out what exactly they're going to be doing, like in the case of Amendola, I'm smoking Amendola Sumatra Cannoli right now, right? So I made the general announcement for Amendola, but then when I found out what cigar that they were going to be sponsoring for Charlotte Cigar Week, I made a specific advertisement just for that cigar. So basically I'm doing 2 pieces of marketing for every company, and in addition to all the other little things that I do. So yeah, that's the part that takes the most time.
And for the sponsors, what type of, what are they hoping to get out of this experience?
Good question. So does a cigar company need me or Charlotte Cigar Week to help them advertise? No. Because 9 times out of 10, y'all can go look at any of these cigar sponsors. They have way more, followers than I do, right? Now, does it help? Of course, any bit of free marketing always helps, right? Especially if it's if it's organic as well. But what I think the real and tangible benefit to our sponsors is that, especially with the cigar sponsors, is that I give them a space to sell their cigars. So every one of my events is in conjunction with not only a cigar lounge, is in conjunction with a cigar brand. So, for instance, I'll just use Amendola again because I'm smoking an Amendola. Jeffrey Amendola will give me 120 cigars of this Sumatra Cannoli to go into my VIP box. Mm-hmm. I, in turn, give Jeffrey an event to where he can sell cigars so he can recoup some of that cost. I do that for every last one of my brands. So like last year, Placencia gave me 120 cigars, but by the time they came on as a sponsor, all of my spots were full. So what I do is I roll them over to this year, don't ask them for anything, and I do an event for them. So this year I have, they're part of my educational event, Fabrica de Puro Serie 1 at at the vintage. So I went to the vintage yesterday and I bought like 115 of their Placencia Reserve original Toros for the event. So it helps the lounge, helps the brand.
Wow.
So it's a give and take.
Yeah, because I know the importance of obviously the brands having an opportunity to interact is probably also with basic consumers is always super important to them, because even though we're living in this digital world, you can only get so far with Instagram promotions and videos and stuff like that. Nothing kind of beats that in-person experience.
Yeah, because what Instagram is like you can look at likes and comments and shares. That's good for your ego, but how does that translate into sales? How does that translate into customers? You have no real way of knowing that. So to your point, it's always great to get into a face-to-face type of situation with a customer or potential customer, so you can kind of get your brand out there. Everybody wants market penetration.
Exactly. Like I said, and I know in the cigar world, like the most important thing is also having the opportunity, to give people a place to smoke, and then also getting your product in their actual hand.
Right.
And then be able to interact with them. Like I would think, for example, Amendola, who you referred to several times, when people get to interact with Jeff, that will change their entire perception of that brand. Like all of a sudden they will know that brand. After they sit through the Terrence's presentation that he'll give for Aganorsa, they'll know Terrence and they'll know that brand. And all of a sudden their whole perception of that brand, even though if they might not smoke Aganorsa right now, they'll suddenly change and be evolved and transformed. And you can't do that through, an Instagram picture or video.
No, you can't.
Real.
And this actually brings up a situation, or not situation, but more of a conversation that I've had multiple times with people in lounges, where we talk about people buy cigars, yes, but what they really buy? They buy the people and they buy the story. Because you can have some XYZ cigar it's okay, it's constructed well. Flavors, all right, it's not bad, but it's just okay, right? And then you have another cigar, and say this cigar sells for 10. You got another cigar, tastes phenomenal, right? Also $10. But the one that just okay, they have some charismatic, rep or some charismatic brand on it, and some great story behind it, even if it might be a little embellishment, right? Versus this other cigar that tastes phenomenal, but the rep or the brand on it's just bland. Which one of those cigars you think is going to sell better?
Yeah, I always refer to Matt Booth in that example, because Matt Booth has that personality. Like whenever you talk to him or interact with him, all of a sudden you're in love with Room 101, and you're willing to try whatever they put out. And it's a little bit harder for those brands that don't have a personality behind it. Like I said, there's something. Those are great cigars often, but it's like harder for people to connect with them as opposed to like a person.
Because all of that goes into marketing. And as somebody who used to be a sales manager back in the day before I switched into technology, everybody knows this. What happens without marketing? Nothing. Marketing is always key. In-store marketing, Instagram marketing, face-to-face, all of that stuff is marketing. And if you can have the best thing since sliced bread, if you don't have good marketing behind it, you can forget it.
Right. The educational experiences. Like I know that there's people who might think education and think event and think, I don't need to learn anything. I don't want to learn anything. I just want to relax and stuff like that. Talk about the importance of education, especially in the cigar world.
Well, you bring up something interesting, man, because I actually had somebody tell me one time, and I quote, "Man, only 20% of the people who smoke cigars are interested in those cigar stuff, the cigar education stuff you're doing." And I was like, I'll live with that 20%, because one of the things that people love about coming to Charlotte Cigar Week as a VIP is they get the opportunity to learn stuff, right? There's actually a lot of people out there who want to know more. They might not say it, but they want to learn more, right? And that is just when like last year. So last year I did one cigar education event. I really don't like calling it cigar education because it's so blank. I'm gonna call it what it is. It's Fabrica de Puro Charlotte, and I partnered with Martinez Cigars out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
This was a unique experience that they did, right? It was a two-part experience. So Martinez, we did a VIP Zoom where me and the master blender / owner from Martinez Cigars, we taught all the VIPs how to conceptually blend their own cigar using the tobacco that he had available. We told them about the different primings, about what these type of tobacco tastes like, what the combustion was like, and all this kind of stuff, right? And then from that, they created a blend sheet. He created every single blend that they gave him, like 2 cigars each. I have people right now sitting there telling me that they're just smoking their second cigar, and it's like, I love this cigar. And I'm like, well, you made it. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that kind of stuff really means a lot to people. And then when we actually had the on-site event, he was rolling cigars, they were selling cigars. But then Chris, my guy with Carolina Blue, he gave me some tobacco from his factory, and I sat down with the table with the tabla and the tuck cutter and the tobacco and everything. And I sat across from each VIP who wanted to do it, and I let them put their hands on tobacco, and I showed them how to make their own cigar from beginning to end. I keep getting people telling me like, man, I absolutely love that. So yeah, people do want to learn more about the things that they put in their mouth and lighten up.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't downplay that. Now, does everybody want to do it? No, because I know people is like, I don't really care about that. I just want to smoke a cigar. But that's fine. Being a VIP is probably not for you. You just be a general public attendee. But if everybody who wants to actually learn something and be able to be more enriched about their cigar experience, there you go. VIP is for you.
It kind of goes along with that famous Henry Ford quote that I can't quote at the moment. I can't remember it word for word, but the idea that your customers don't really know what they want. And so you have to kind of give them what you know that they might want, and they just don't know it yet. So
if you build it, they will come.
Right. So in your case, you're giving them that opportunity to learn an education. And even though they might think they don't want to learn, it's like when they actually see it and they interact with it and they engage with it, then all of a sudden they like, oh, this is what I was missing. It makes me feel a little bit more like connected to this hobby. I don't feel, I understand. I always tell people the same thing is, like I've had the opportunity to go to several factories in my career, and it's a different experience. Like once you see how everything is working, like you said, once you see how a blend is made, then you have a different appreciation for the product. And, you start, after a while, you start seeing that it doesn't, like ratings don't matter as much because it's just a whole different experience, like ratings.
I don't pay attention to cigar ratings at all.
No, I don't either. I don't like ratings because I think obviously they're based on one person's palate.
Right. Or a panel, but it's all subjective.
Right.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Right. And like the flavor profile sometimes is like not what you're, not exactly what you may experience. It's, like I said, it's all based on your palate. So,
but to that point, like, okay, I don't care about ratings, but there are certain reviewers who I'll go look at. Like if there's a cigar that I have not smoked and I'm thinking about smoking it, one of the first things I'll do is I'll go look up the type name of that cigar in Google and type in cigar review. And there are certain people I pay attention to. Like I pay attention to developing palates. I'll pay attention to a Blind Man Puff. I'll pay attention to Cone Ed. Not Half Wheel as much. Not because I don't trust them, because I do. But the thing is that Charlie is going to smoke a cigar way longer than anybody else will. So, Robusto, you buy what, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, right?
Hmm.
Charlie will smoke a Robusto for like 2 hours. And he's going to pick up a whole bunch of little nuanced flavors and notes that you probably wouldn't get as a regular cigar smoker, right? So, yeah, I'm not going to look at Charlie's review. I'm going to look at somebody else who's going to smoke the cigar for the same length of time that I would smoke it. And pretty much those people I named, they have palates that are similar to mine. So if they say that they liked it, more often than not, I actually do like the cigar.
And what you said before too is also important in that, while the ratings may be a little bit off or skewed or whatever, knowing the story behind a cigar can be a really powerful selling point as well.
Yeah, people love stories.
Hmm. But we've kind of lost the art of the story. Like in the cigar industry, you get inundated with press releases, and they don't really tell the story of the cigar. They just tell you, what's in it.
I think
And I
you're
think,
dropping some jewels right now for some people who might need to do some press releases. Like, hey, you need to include a story.
well, yeah, because like for me, like you get so many press releases, and it says like the rapper is this, the rapper behind the filler, yada yada yada, and you're like, okay, like if you don't know, if you're not like Nestor Placencia or Ernesto Perez Carrillo, like you might those are just like words to you. Like you don't say, oh my gosh, like yeah, that tobacco is going to give you this experience. So for me, like I'm always looking for like a story, like like oh, like this was inspired by Maria Lucha by Luciano Cigars, like inspired by his mother. That's
Yeah,
like a
I've had that
powerful
one too.
story that makes you want to like actually go there and try that cigar because it has like feelings and emotion behind it, and it kind of like
Yes.
alters it. It's a more compelling story than just saying wrapper binder filler, MSRP. You know, go buy it. It's great. It's the best thing we've ever done until next month when when we release something else.
It's kind of, to me at least, it's kind of like music, right? Because okay, like there's certain songs you will listen to now that you probably heard 5, 10, 20 years ago, right? And you remember the first time you heard that song. And now every time you hear it, you're thinking about the first time you heard it, the the emotions that you were feeling at the time, the experience that you were having at the time. And if it was a good experience, it's like you will always have fond memories of that song. Well, I look at cigars kind of the same way. It's like cigars need to have a story, right? So it's like this person can paint this picture in your mind of like, this is what I was doing when I was creating the cigar. This is the thought process that went into creating this blend and stuff like this. And these are the notes that I wanted to achieve with this cigar and blah, 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 right? So now when you get ready to smoke that cigar, you're thinking about what this person said. And you're
Mhm.
kind of almost putting yourself in the mind frame of like, let me see if I can, use this cigar to get into his mind or get into her mind about what they were creating at the time. And then by the same time, having your own unique experience with it.
Exactly. And almost like a song too. It's like you may listen to a song and you just may not be in a place in your life or have the experience where you understand that song, like what the artist is trying to convey. And so instead of just saying, oh, I hate that song, maybe you just, skip it for a while and come back to it later on in life. Because there have been lots of songs like that where it's like at first, when I first listened to them, I'm like, I don't get it. And then years later, I'm like, oh, like after more experience in life, and I'm like, oh, okay, I completely understand where they were coming from now, and I appreciate it a lot more. And I think cigars are in the same way. Like you may not be ready for it; it may not fit your palate like today, but yeah, and that's why I always tell people to maybe buy two, cigars of something
Right.
because try it out, and if you don't like it, don't say, oh, I don't like it. Just like years later, you might want to go back to it and say, oh my gosh, like this is awesome. Like now I'm a little bit more I know what to look for. I know the nuances that I
Your palate has changed. It
exactly.
may
You're gonna have
become
a
more
completely different
refined or
experience with that
whatever.
cigar.
But to piggyback off of your point about the song, that I totally agree with what you're saying. Right? It's almost akin to like poems with me, because like there are certain poems that, when I was pledging, that I had to remember. Like "If" by Rudyard Kipling was one that we had to remember. Right.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I started going through different, trials and tribulations in my life, whether I was in my 20s, my 30s, or even right now. Because even right now, like when I'm doing Charlotte Cigar Week and stuff like this, I certain verses of that poem come back to me. If you can
Mhm.
keep your head when all about you, losing theirs and blame it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. Like things like that, it just pop into my head. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, I get what you're saying about the music because, like I said, it's the same way with poems. For me, at least.
Yeah, like I said, definitely. Like I said, I always tell people just be open and willing to revisit something that you don't like right now, because it's also too about where what's going on in your environment on that day or when you're smoking. I know there are people, especially a couple episodes ago when we were talking to Vlad from Som Cigars, he was saying like if he's having a bad day, he does not smoke a cigar, or in that, because he knows that that bad day is going to transfer over to the experience of what he's smoking, and he doesn't want to taint that whatever he's smoking, that cigar, with life or outside factors. So
That's
there's
how I am with a cigar lounge.
yeah.
I don't, when you like, if I'm at home, I'm having a bad day. You recognize, you're very self aware. You recognize that you have bad energy. I don't go into a cigar lounge because I don't want to carry that negative energy with me
Mhm.
into the lounge. I'll just sit in my garage and I'll smoke a cigar that I've smoked 50 million times before, and I'll just chill out there. When I have some better energy, then I go into a lounge.
Tell people, so how is Charlotte Cigar Week structured? So what can they expect? Like like what's all involved? What do they get? Just take us through that whole process so that we kind of get that in our minds. Like what is this Charlotte Cigar Week experience?
So Charlotte Cigar Week is like it's like a roller coaster, you know, because every event has its own vibe. I'm not one of those people who believe in, coming up with some random name for an event, but it's just a name for an event. It's just like any other regular day going into a lounge. Like for instance, so with me being from Mobile, Alabama, and for those who don't know, Mobile, Alabama is the birthplace of Mardi Gras in the United States. New Orleans gets all the fanfare for it, but it started in Mobile, Alabama. So because that's my roots, I incorporated an event for opening night called Party Gras. It's a Mardi Gras themed experience. It's going to be a Taylor Smoke Uptown. I bought masks, necklaces, cups, moon pies, decorations. The music is going to be geared toward that, and it's just going to be a Mardi Gras vibe. So you say you're going to start the week here, right? But then on Tuesday during the day, you're going to come down just a little bit during the day, because we have a 90s themed event. It's called For the Cool. I Love the 90s edition, which would be at Smoke and Barrel from 1 to 5. And then you go down a little bit more, because then we have the cigar dinner that I'm doing in conjunction with the North Carolina Premium Cigar Association at the Donovan. That's VIP only. But then on Thursday, you go up just a little bit, because we're going to be doing Fabrica de Puro Serie 1 with Placencia at the Vintage. You're going to stay there that night when you do the cigar education, Fabrica de Puro Serie 2 with Aganorsa. But then when that's over with, because I have a general public event that's going on at the same time from 7 p.m. to 2 p.m. inside Gold Leaf called Nicaragua Nights. It's going to step it up a little bit, right? But then on Friday night, I have two events. One is more of a preamble, I guess you would say, to another event. I have an event that goes from 5 to 7. This is a new event that I'm doing called KISS. Cut, Ignite, Smoke, Savor. It's for VIP women only. So it'll be sexy. It'll be a way for me to allow the women to kind of get pampered. Sandra, Miss Novelty, she's going to be helping me curate this part of it. There'll be charcuterie cups, gourmet chocolates by Barbecue and Smoke. Uncle Nearest will have a VIP tasting room with Ronica Dillingham. The cigars will be courtesy of All Titus with Stacey Raquel, and I'll have a female DJ. And then that's from 5 to 7. And then right after that, starting at 7 p.m., is a general public event called Rebel. And that's going to be sexy. It's going to take it up just a notch, right? Because Rebel is my version of Ladies Night, but it's not just, oh, just ladies come in. No, it's going to be a women-centric vibe, but it's co-ed. You know what I mean? It's going to be, and Rebel is basically an homage to all the women who smoke cigars. It's a combination of two words, rebel and belle. Rebel is what women cigar smokers used to be called back in the day because cigars were deemed as a man's only pastime. Me being from the South, a belle is a woman whose beauty and charm is recognized by her peers, right? So Rebel is an homage to all the dynamic women who smoke cigars. And then on Saturday, take it up a notch. We're going to the Little Havana Festival, Havana 33 Restaurant, whole little Latin vibe, salsa dancing, Latin music, you know, cigar rolling, Cuban food, Cuban drinks. It's going to be an all vendor day right there on the lake. Nice vibe. Then we take it up a notch that night when we go to the CLT Hub with, who was that? Burners presenting Drew Estate with the Smoke in the City. And then we go down a notch at Aroma Cigar, etc., for aromatherapy. So it undulates. Every event has its own vibe.
Yeah, you need something, you know, if it's all at one level, A, that will probably be exhausting. And
yeah,
B,
it's going to be exhausting for me regardless.
But it gives people like a nice experience, like you said, a little bit for everyone. And I love that you have some events designed for the female smoker, and then, you know, general public events, and then VIP events. So you're hitting different.
Oh, you know, and I forgot during KISS. I don't know how I forgot this, but during KISS, I also have a certified massage therapist coming up from South Carolina. He's going to be giving 10-minute complimentary chair massages to all the VIP women as well.
Wow.
So it's gonna be a nice, sexy, dope event for the women, and then Rebel is gonna be for everybody. It's gonna be a dope event. That's one of the events that I'm really looking forward to.
And I think it's great that all this takes place around Charlotte. You know, you and I both live in North Carolina, but the part of North Carolina that I live in is not very cigar friendly. We don't have like we don't have like big cigar stores here in like Durham or in the, you know, there's I think one or two in Raleigh.
Is that what you call the triangle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a different vibe here, and people don't understand that sometimes. It's like I tell people I live in what's considered the American tobacco district, and yet it's the most anti-tobacco place
really
you could possibly think of in the city. It's like all the old big tobacco factories in Durham are here in this area.
But that's cigarette though, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've all been converted into like office buildings and apartments now and stuff like that. And like I said, you can't smoke on sidewalks. You can't smoke hardly anywhere. So it's a different vibe here. So Charlotte is obviously like that whole area is like, I think as you get into that part of the state, definitely a stronger cigar culture, maybe more open, I should say.
Well, yeah, but still, you know, North Carolina itself is a controlled state because, you know, I forgot when it was. I don't know if it happened. I think it probably happened before I moved here, as a matter of fact, where like, you know, they changed all the rules about where you can smoke. Like, from what I was told, there are some restaurants, like steak restaurants, you used to be able to smoke cigars in certain parts of the restaurant. And they got rid of all of that. You know, you can't smoke cigars at, you know, certain hotels and stuff like this. So it is restrictive in a way. You know, if you're not at your home, you can't smoke in public parks anymore. Can't do that. So yeah, it is restrictive in a bit of where you can have cigar events, you know. But yeah, to your point though, Charlotte sounds like it's way better than Durham.
This is like I said, it's a completely different vibe here. So I tell people, I was like, you don't understand. I was like, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. But it sounds like
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
we've already had this conversation offline, so I already
Hmm.
know your answer, right? Your pending answer. But hey, I have a spot for you. I put Antoine Reed right there on my spreadsheet, so you have a spot waiting. Even if you can come, even if you can only come to the dinner, I have a spot waiting for you,
Well,
so you
thank
can
you.
make it.
Thank you. We will see.
I'll take that. We'll see.
We'll see. But I know I don't want you to leave out anyone, but can you tell some people like what cigar companies are going to have a presence at this year's
Well,
festival?
I got to put on my glasses for that. I do. I told you, I turned 48 this July, and like, man, my eyes, they aren't what they used to be. You know what? Incidentally, uh, I blame this on cell phones because I sit there and look at my phone like all the time and sitting there focuses on this little screen. I think it's killing my eyes.
It is like at night. I'm like that. Like at night in the morning, like when I first get up, I'm like this in bed, and my eyes are like shot now. So I'm like, there's so much during the day. Like I wear glasses. Like I don't wear them for the podcast, but I have like
Well, why you trying to make me look bad, dude? Like you
I have
know you wear
like
glasses. You got me sit over here just wearing glasses, trying to make me look like I'm old and
this
stuff.
is me. This is me during the day. And I have like a whole nother pair of glasses, and I
Yeah,
have
you look
UV
distinguished, man.
blockers.
I look
So
like a
I'm like,
nerd. You look distinguished. Maybe I need to
yeah.
give
So
you some
I'm like
clear
this, like
lenses, right?
during like all the time now. My sister says these look like goggles, but they're my favorite. I was influenced. I saw Michael Herklotz had glasses like that, and I was like, when I get my new pair, I want a pair like that. So that's why I got them. But
Well,
yeah, we're all the same.
I'll tell you this though. So I have a pair of expensive prescription glasses. I am horrible when it comes to keeping up with glasses, keys, and my cell phone. Those three things I lose all the time, right? These are not prescription. I bought these from Walmart. These are like 2 plus,
The
the 2
readers.
plus. Yeah, they're just readers. I was like, man, I might as well just. I think I have like 3 or 4 of these things. One is in my car, one is in my bag, two is in the house. So like, I'll just keep a pair of these because I'm always messing up expensive things or losing them. So forget it. But to answer your question about who's involved, so my lanyards and my cigar box are being sponsored by well, you probably have never heard of them, but it's called Holloman and McKissick Consulting Group.
Okay.
They're based in Nashville, Tennessee, and also in Charlotte. Uh, a local Wilson Wealth Management Company is headquartered right here in Charlotte, specifically in the Ballantyne area. He's a sponsor for my cocktail area featuring Flor de Cana. Uncle Nearest is a partner. Flor de Cana Rum is a partner. As a matter of fact, they are sending their global brand ambassador, Luis Baez, from Nicaragua to Charlotte to do a masterclass rum tasting for my VIPs at the Vintage. So
And
that's going to be a great time.
that's a good rum brand. Like
Yeah,
I
I
can drink
do.
that like water.
I don't drink a lot. Being in America, we love our whiskey.
Hmm.
But if I have to have a spirit with a cigar, I'm going to choose rum.
Yeah.
Rum just goes better with cigars than any other spirit I've ever had. But everybody's taste is different. I also have Cafe La Llave Espresso. They're a sponsor. All of my VIPs are going to get the little like 8 ounce espresso packs in their box. NMS Records is basically an online radio station out of Germany. The guy who owns it is actually he's from here, but he used to live in Ghana, but now he broadcasts out of Germany. So he's going to come over here for that. So then with cigar related, I have Cigar Reserve, Cedar Spills, Carolina Blue Cigars, Recluse Cigars, Protocol, Altadas USA, featuring the Trinidad, HVC, Amendola, the Favilli, formerly Mombacho, West Tampa Tobacco. Shout out to Rick, Julian Suede, ATL Cigar Company. Shout out to my guy Pete, BL Luxuries online. Quality Importers just came on. I was just about to get my banner and everything done, and here comes Quality Importers saying, "Well, what do you need? What can we do for you?" So Quality Importers is going to be sponsoring cigar cutters, barbecue and smoke, Miss Novelties, Zenergy Massage Therapy, and then also have VIP raffle sponsors with Divine Leaf, Conscious Cigars, Cigar Prop, and Cigars at Sunrise out of New York. And I can't forget my guy Joe with YA Barra, the Guayaberas. So he's provided a 30% discount to anybody who wants to, get a Guayabera on his website. So I'll extend that to you. If you want to buy a Guayabera, you want to get 30% off at checkout and the discount code, just type in Charlotte Cigar Week, all run together. You'll get 30% off your entire purchase.
Well, that's great for me and anyone watching and listening.
Anybody else watching.
Exactly.
So you can see by this whole list of sponsors and partners, I have a lot of marketing to do.
Yes, you do. But you have
so you see my point.
Brands, but you have some good brands and companies and people to work with within that. So and
some of those guys are vendors because so Carolina Blue sponsor, he's a vendor on opening night at Taylor Smoke. On Wednesday, Juan is coming down for the protocol event. North Carolina PCA is working with me. They put a pack of 5 cigars together from 5 different manufacturers. I forgot I don't know how I missed them. That North Carolina PCA. That's one of my partners. I'm actually making a donation to them for about $2,900 to the North Carolina PCA. And that's my way of giving back to my local cigar community. I should say my local cigar industry is by doing that. And then on Thursday, of course, Placencia, then Aganorsa. Friday, Altatis. Stacey Raquel, she'll be there doing that. Wayne Clark is doing the Placencia. Of course, Terrence is doing the Aganorsa. Will, our Drew Estate rep, he's going to be at the Saturday night event. And then Saturday during the day, it's going to be Rainer Lorenzo and Jeffrey Amendola at the event.
Wow, all great people.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm blessed.
You put all of them in one big event, is going to be a good time.
Yeah.
So.
And now we're just waiting on you. I'm gonna keep on saying it until you're like, all right, I'm coming.
At this point of the show, I usually like to kind of close out this portion of the show with 2 questions that I ask all the guests. So I'm going to ask those questions of you. The first of those questions is, do you have a philosophy that you live by?
I have a couple of them. One is something I've probably had since 1997. You never know unless you try. I'm big on that. I don't like to waste my time on wondering what if. So like, just try it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. If it works, it's great. If it doesn't, then you just got some experience. But you never know unless you try. I have a few of them, but that's probably the biggest one.
The last question I'm going to modify since we're talking about Charlotte Cigar Week, but I want you to finish this sentence. Charlotte Cigar Week is
for the people, for the city, for the culture.
Can you tell people the dates of Charlotte Cigar Week? And I know that there's a banner on the screen, but for those people who are just listening to this podcast, can you tell them what website they need to look for, what social media?
So Charlotte Cigar Week is every year is always going to be the last week of April. So this year is the 25th to the 30th. Anything that I want people to know immediately, it goes on my Instagram page at Charlotte Cigar Week. But you can also, I end up taking some of the information and also transpose it over to my website, which is charlottecigarweek.com. And also on my Facebook page, which is Charlotte Cigar Week.
Well, awesome. I want to thank you for coming on
today. I want to thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's fun to talk to different people in the industry, even if it has to be virtually. But I learned a lot I'm always interested about events and experiences. So I definitely learned a couple things from you tonight. Just about
like what? Like what? Regale us. What did you learn tonight? Put you on the spot.
Just going into that mindset of, this isn't, and we talked some about this over the weekend briefly, but, people see events like this and they think, you know, it's ego involved or it's a money grab. And
No,
you can see that you never talked about anything of that sort or close to that.
because
So
that's not what it's about. If I may leave the people who don't really know me with this message, the people who know me, like my ambassadors, my friends, and everybody who's a partner, a sponsor, they know this about me. Charlotte Cigar Week is not about me. One of the biggest compliments that I got last year when I was going around shaking hands and welcoming people, there was these gentlemen who came down from the DMV, and there was like 3 or 4 of them that was on the wall at Taylor Smoke. And I was going through shaking people's hand. One of the guys, I apologize, I don't remember his name. So if you see this, I apologize, good brother, I can't remember your name. But I remember the situation. He shook my hand and he said, man, I want to let you know, like, I've been to a lot of different cigar weeks. You're the only person I've ever seen who don't go stick themselves in the VIP area, and you actually get up and you walk around, you try to greet everybody. That made me feel good because that's who I am. I'm from the deep South. I'm from Alabama. You know, people from Alabama, we've never met a stranger. You know, I come from that era where people used to sit on their back porch and wave to people as they walk by, and you could leave you leave your door unlocked and stuff like this, right? You knew everybody. That's just me. This Charlotte Cigar Week is not about me. It's about everybody who comes, whether you're general public or you're VIP. It's about the lounges. It's about the culture. Because when I said Charlotte Cigar, you said, finish the sentence. What is Charlotte Cigar Week is? It's for the people. It's for the city. It's for the culture. It ain't for Damon. I'm just a conduit to get these things going, but it's not about me.
And I think that's an important note, and it's a great one to kind of end on, in that there are so many people who do put on events, and yet they're so behind the scenes. And when the event actually happens, you know, they're nowhere to be found, except for, like you said, the VIP area, or, you know, this, it gives off a weird vibe. So I think it's great that you are so personable, because it's almost like how the cigar brands that I like, how they work. Like, you can attach a face to it. You know who you're talking to. You know who you're dealing with. So I'll applaud you for taking on this monumental, probably headache-inducing at times task of putting it together.
Ask my ambassadors; they'll tell you, because you know, a few of them are always texting me or calling me, checking me, like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'll be fine after Charlotte Cigar Week is over." Because, you know, it's like, man, you can't do something unless you love it. Mm-hmm. Now, does that mean that because you love something, it's not going to be tedious, it's not going to become a headache at some point? Of course not. But the love of the thing that you're doing is what drives you. Like, I have a good job. I don't need to do Charlotte Cigar Week to enrich myself, right? And here's the point. My VIP is only $255, right? But the value in it is probably at least twice that amount. Could I charge $500 for a VIP? Yeah, I could. I would never do that, because one of the things that I recognize is this. I have people who come from all across the nation, you know, and literally, like, from California, New York, Miami, Chicago, Wyoming, Texas, and all points in between, Arizona. These people have to pay for flights. They have to pay for hotels. They have to pay for food. They're going to support the lounges with cigars and drinks on top of buying a VIP package. I don't want to make a VIP package so extremely high that it becomes cost prohibitive for them. I want to have value in it, and not just the monetary value. I want them to have an experience value from Charlotte Cigar Week. I feel like as long as I continue to do that and operate from that authenticity, then yeah, Charlotte Cigar Week is a success. And it's not about the number of people. It's about the quality of their experience that they have when they come. That is my focus.
Well, awesome. So for those of you who want more information on Charlotte Cigar Week, go to charlottecigarweek.com. And as he said, Instagram is a good place for updated information about Charlotte Cigar Week. So the handle is at Charlotte Cigar Week. And if you missed any of this interview, or you want to see the other 120 whatever that you may have missed, you can go to deepcutslive.com, and they're all there. And until next time.
I want to say this before we go. Can I say something?
Yeah.
I want to put a feather in your cap, because me and some of my homies we always talking about giving people flowers. I want to tell you, first of all, thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. I was very, very shocked, but pleasantly shocked when you say, "Hey, how you come on Deep Cuts?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want to come on there." But I want to thank you for everything that you do in the cigar industry. Like, dude, you're everywhere. I always see you at all the different, cigar events, the big, cigar events and stuff like this. The work that you do behind the scenes, the work that you do on Deep Cuts. I want to applaud you. You do a great job, man. You're very professional, and you're very well received. You do a great job, man. Keep it up.
Well, thank you so much, and that is appreciated. And I'm just here. I tell people I'm here to serve and here to help people understand this industry, because it's not something that people really understand. And as you kind of hinted at, it needs a little bit of education to help people get why we do what we do and understand all the intricate parts, moving parts, and people within the industry. So,
Well, thank you. I appreciate you.